I mean, I never liked the idea of birthing in a hospital, but I just never even considered anything else. Like, we're not crazy. We don't live in the 12th century. We're not doing a home birth. Like, what does that even mean? And then I really stretched myself to consider the birthing center, and then we decided on the birthing center. And now,
at 35 weeks, we came together and we have decided that we are transitioning.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Dad Easy. Whoa is all I got to say about this one. We're getting spicy. We're probably getting confrontational a little bit. Controversial is probably the better word. What we're talking about today is where you're going to have your birth and why you're going to choose to have your birth there. We talk about hospitals and birthing centers and home births, what the difference is, why choose one or the other, what might be the best for you, what we chose was the best for us. We explained to you guys why we made the decision we made. We've officially made our decision, and we think that we're offering a great perspective from people who are not necessarily professionals, but have done a whole lot of research. So we hope that you enjoy this one. It offers a whole lot of insight and information and things that maybe you won't hear from professionals, more of the deep down true stuff. Let's dive in. Hey, I'm Nick.
And I'm Bia.
We don't have all the answers, but we're definitely in it. And if you're ready to lead your family by being more of yourself, not less, then you're in the right place.
We are so grateful to be in this with you.
This is Dad Easy. Let's get into it. I have the most dramatic wife in the world. She sits here with the light.
This light's driving me crazy.
And she's like, I can't.
It hurts my eyes.
I can't. I'm like, oh, you grew up your whole life saying, I want to be famous. I want to be famous. For those of you who get that joke from that video. You ever heard that video? I want to be famous. Okay.
No.
Good for you guys. And she just, man, you can't be famous if you can't have lights on you.
Okay.
It's out. She's done. I was built for this.
I like the natural light. I don't need this fake shit.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are so excited. I have two computers and a notebook today. Why? Because we're bringing in some hot information. What are we talking about today, honey?
We are talking about home birth, hospital birth, birthing center, and our change of hearts at 35 weeks.
How to birth, where to birth, how we chose what we're doing. The hottest, one of the most controversial topics, delicious. And there's nobody here to judge us or compete with us except maybe you and thousands of others.
Honestly, so you know, we are not even having this conversation with our parents or friends. We are not even sharing that. We're going to have our experience and we're going to share with you guys. But honestly,
but remember, the reason we built this in the first place was we were never intending to like share this with the world. It was supposed to be a little verbal journal for our children.
It's true.
And explaining like why we choose what we choose about this process and where our heads were at and where our hearts were at. So, you know, while we're making this decision, Bia saying we're not telling anybody. We're only not telling anybody because sometimes what we need in life is to listen to ourselves and to listen to our faith and to listen to what feels most important to us. So by not talking with other people, we're giving ourselves the chance to really hear what do we want. And now we're super grounded in what we want. And we're not necessarily, I'm not saying don't get advice or don't get help. We've done a lot of research, but we've asked professionals. We've asked people who we feel are in a position to give us the proper information.
And we also spoke with a lot of people who have different experience.
Yep.
At hospital, who had at birthing centers, who had at home. And from that, we made our own decision.
Yeah. So like we've talked with doctors. We've talked with nurses from emergency rooms. We've talked from people who have birthed well over 1,000 babies. Multiple people have birthed well over 1,000 babies. We've spoken a lot with ChatGPT. We've read different reviews and studies. We've read books. We have done a lot of Instagram exploring, which I know sounds funny, but the truth is a lot of people share their honest experience there. Now, you got to take certain things with a grain of salt, but to be able to take all these different avenues, ultimately you have to come up with the best thing that's the thing that's best for you and your family. Yeah. And I think it's fair to say we've done that with the information we have and where we're at. So we wanted to share our journey and our process, and we're going to try and do it in a timely manner because we got to go get to the gym, and then we got to go to a birthing class. So we're in a bit of a hurry. But yeah, I wrote a lot of things down because we got a lot to say today. So the question we're answering is, or maybe we're not answering, we're exploring, is where's the best place to have your birth? And we're going to give you the information that we got that helped us make our decision, or some of the information. And then our hope is that you just explore for yourself. We definitely don't want you to decide what we're deciding because we decided it. I think it just led us to like, this is obvious. But I do think it's important to note that the reasons we chose what we chose have a lot to do with who Bia is, who I am, what our beliefs are, what makes Bia comfortable, what makes me comfortable. So that's going to change from person to person. So this isn't what's right or what's wrong to do. This is what best serves you and your family and your needs. Am I right?
Correct. Perfect.
Okay. So the first thing we want to say is that we're talking about 3 different options. There may be more ways to do this, but I think these are the 3 that we know of: home births, hospital births, and birthing centers.
Yes.
We know what a hospital birth is. Everybody knows that. What's a home birth, very briefly?
A home birth is an option that you have to birth your baby at home with the assisted or not. So not assisted would be considered a free birth. So if you're choosing to do just you and your husband or your partner or whoever is the person that you choose to be with you, that's a free birth. It's just the 2 of you and a doula, it's also a free birth. But if you have a license, a midwife, then it's an assisted home birth.
Okay, so real quick, before we go into birthing center, can you tell me briefly the difference between a doula and a midwife?
Yes.
First of all, what are they?
Yes. So a doula is someone that can help you emotionally and support you through the birthing process. It's someone that it's going to be there with you and your partner, someone that it's going to support you into having a better labor and birth experience. A midwife is a medical person that we will be able to help in the birthing process and in a medical way. So it's not someone that is going to perform a C-section. That would be a doctor. But a midwife is someone who studies the birthing process and someone that has to be informed and studying every 2 years and get re-licensed or like re-go through the process to learn. But can literally help you to birth a baby even better than a OBGYN.
OBGYN. Maybe not better, like of course it depends.
In a regular, not in an emergency, not in a risky case. It's someone who is like healthy and don't really need like a doctor because you don't need a C-section type of thing.
So I never knew what these things were, and it's important. I think a lot of guys they're like, what? Okay, cool. Somebody at the hospital. And they do have midwives at hospitals.
They
think
do, not every hospital.
Not every hospital, but they have them. And they usually don't have doulas. You bring your own doula to the hospital.
Correct.
Bring your own doula day.
There are hospitals that they can recommend, and they have like some
doula services and whatnot.
Yeah,
So I did not know what those things are, what those people are, and what their jobs were. When she says trained, like a midwife, there's traditionally trained midwives, and then there's like professionally educated midwives, or what do we call that? Like women who have gone through schooling, and it's always can they be a man? Can a man be a midwife? No, right?
I think they can. I think it's just not common, but
okay, I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know the answer. To look up.
But a midwife does have, especially a nurse. Is it a nurse practitioner midwife?
Yes.
So there are midwives, and then there are nurse practitioner midwives. I think the name is nurse practitioner midwives.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly.
But they have gone through schooling. They are educated, like a nurse would be educated to give birth in a hospital. But midwives are specifically educated for birth process. Yes. And some of them, like by the state, some of them are just traditionally trained and technically could be illegally birthing babies. There are midwives who don't have are license to do so.
Which they can operate legally.
They technically can't operate legally, but I'm only saying it because there are women out there who do that. And then And some people, trust them. And obviously there's risk involved with that. And then there's doulas, and doulas are kind of just a support system. Like, literally.
It's an emotional support.
It's an emotional support thing. But they're trained for that. So it's not just like any friend who's like good to you. So that's the difference between doula and midwife. So we talked about hospital birth. We talked about a home birth. Mm-hmm. Home birth could be a free birth where you don't have anybody there. It's just you by yourself and maybe your husband or partner, maybe a mom or something like that. And you can literally do the whole thing by yourself. That's intense as shit. And maybe if
that's
you
called
understand,
a free birth.
Free birth. And then you can do a home birth with a doula. You can do a home birth. You need a midwife if you're going to.
Assisted birth,
which is, a midwife is there. And then the doula can be optional for support. And then finally, there's a birthing center. What's a birthing center?
A birthing center is like an in between, like what they say. It's very similar to have a home, but you have a team and a support that is connected to the hospital in case you have an emergency and they can send you to the hospital. They have licensed midwives and practitioners that can support you in your birthing process. So they have a staff team. They actually have everything that a midwife would bring you at home, but it's in a facility, so you don't need to prepare anything at home. You just go to the facility, which looks like a home. It usually looks like a bedroom with a bath type of thing. And it's kind of like for a lot of people who are a little nervous about doing at home, but they also don't want to do it at the hospital. So it's kind of like an in-between.
Yeah. So when she says it looks like a home, let's be clear. It's in like a little shopping center, like, those doctor's office centers. And then you go in, they have like a welcome area. And then in the back, it's an office space. Doesn't look like an office per se, but there are 3 main rooms at ours.
Yeah, and he is speaking specifically about the one that we have close.
Yeah, because it's important for people to understand. Like when you say it looks like a home, it doesn't look like a home.
Yeah. The
room is a glorified hotel room almost, but there's a bed, and a lot of them like a tub for people to, because a lot of women give birth in tubs. There's a bathroom, and there's different rules at different places. For example, the birthing center we're at, it's like once you give birth, you're usually out. You must be out like within 6 hours of that birth. And I think people get a little shocked at that idea.
I was.
It's crazy, right? Because you think like, oh my God, you just went through this crazy thing. But the truth is women are, unless there's complications, fine to go home after a couple hours.
Yeah.
So there's some things that you really want to look into that we're not going to go into all of them because of our time constraint today, but it's worth understanding, like, what is the difference of doing this with a birthing center versus at the hospital? And there's a ton of differences. The birthing center and different birthing centers have different policies, but they really want to put the power in the hands of the woman birthing the child.
Yes.
They want her to feel free. They want her to, like when you're birthing, maybe you're up and you're moving or you're trying to, shift your body weight this way and that way. And they're like, you want to get in the tub? Get in the tub. You want to get in the bed? Get in the bed. You want to, lay upside down on your head? We don't recommend it, but sure, like go for it. So there's a lot of support is my understanding. And they have multiple midwives there who are there to kind of be there, but there aren't medical interventions. Mm-hmm. The only medical intervention that I understand is Pitocin, like a shot of Pitocin they can give you to induce birth, or no, to induce the placenta birth afterwards. And what that means, dudes, maybe women get this, I didn't, is like you have the baby, assuming everything's great, baby comes out, then what they do is the placenta that was in the woman's body now needs to be in her uterus, now needs to be birthed like a baby. And that comes out. Sometimes it's 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes after. Sometimes it can be 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. The birthing center, for example, is they have a rule after 30 minutes at the birthing center we're at, that if the placenta has not been birthed.
Every birthing center after 30 minutes. And this is a midwife. That's when they are trained and licensed. So when a midwife is licensed, it means that she is following a protocol, a medical protocol. So every birthing center and every midwife, even doing at home, if it's an assisted birth at home by a midwife, they have the rule that after 30, 40 minutes, if you didn't birth your placenta, you have to be sent to an emergency in a hospital.
Transferred to a hospital for medical intervention because you're at risk for infection.
Yes.
And there's a lot of, for example, like Bia does not believe necessarily that that's a fair process. She understands, I understand the reason, but the reason, by the way, is I think the reason is that if it's in there and it's not coming out, they don't know if there's blood buildup or internal bleeding in the woman's body, which could be very dangerous for her, which could turn into hemorrhaging, I think, because they are saying that potentially the placenta is blocking blood from coming through, so they wouldn't know if she was bleeding internally or not.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So there are reasons for it and good reason for it. And also the woman's body understands, it's time to let go of the placenta or it's not time to.
It's what they call the third stage. It's what your body is supposed to do. The same way that you're birthing the baby, you birth the placenta. So the same process that you go to birth a baby, the hormones that you produce, like oxytocin, to help like you birth the baby, the same thing happens with the placenta right after the birth.
I will interrupt this program to remind you that we are not doctors. We are not telling you what we're saying is right for sure. This is the research we've done and what we've concluded. We might be totally wrong. We really encourage you. If you're confused about this, if you disagree with it, do your own research.
Yes.
That's what has got us to this point. We're not saying we're right. We're saying this is right for us and this is what we understand so far. I'm sure we've made some mistakes in some of the statements we've made, but generally speaking, this is what we believe to be true for the process of birth.
Yes.
We shall continue.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about what we decided, how we decided, and the change of hearts that we had at 35 weeks.
Okay. So before we do that, I just need to make this point. I told you I was going to say this before because it's important. What is the point of birth? Mm-hmm. I know that sounds like a stupid question, but it's actually a really important thing to consider as you're starting this. What is the point of birth? We believe, the point of birth is to birth a healthy baby as smoothly and as lovingly as possible, keeping the mother safe in the process. Mm-hmm. I didn't get that anywhere. I just wrote that down. I think when I think about birth, that's what we're here to do. Birth this baby smoothly, healthy, taking care of my wife. And the more that we have researched this, the more we realize the way in which a baby is birthed. That includes the whole process of the pregnancy. I believe it starts with conception and how the baby was conceived. The whole process of the pregnancy.
The dad's health as well before.
Dad's health. Everything that goes on in those 9 months. What happens the day of. Where the baby is birthed. How the baby is birthed. C-section. Vaginal. Natural. Using drugs. All of that makes a difference in the baby's experience. Mm-hmm. And then everything after, of course, is the baby vaccinated with certain things? Is the baby not vaccinated? How is the baby handled right after? Does the baby get to have skin-to-skin contact with the mother and then the father? What's the energy of the room? All of that. You can call it woo-woo, or you can just really look shit up and see the difference. And it's starting to come to light. It is clear and obvious all those things play a role. So that's the point of birth. And the best chance of that happening, of having that type of birth, that's what we're talking about. Why I said at the beginning, it's really important for women and their partners to really understand what they want and what makes them feel safe. That's going to help you understand what the best route is for you. Mm-hmm. And that's so imperative. So we're not saying this. I feel really clear that we're not here like you should do what we do. Yeah,
but I think it's important that we are emphasizing the importance of researching and getting informed, because a lot of us, we make decisions based on a conception that we have of everything that we saw on the television, everything that we heard about it, all the images that we have of women yelling and in pain and all of that. And birth doesn't necessarily is that. So it's not necessary like this picture that we have. So we need to make decisions based on this information and real information, what really is, and not in this conception that we have in our head.
Agreed. And I think when I look at how I was when we first, I mean, I never liked the idea of birthing in a hospital, but I just never even considered anything else. Like, we're not crazy. We don't live in the 12th century. We're not doing a home birth. Like, what does that even mean? Was my thought before this whole process. And then I really stretched myself to consider the birthing center, and then we decided on the birthing center. And now,
well, me too. Before, I want to say that before
that drum roll was for nothing.
Before we decided on anything, I was 100% no at doing at home. I never wanted to do a home birth. I always had this like terrifying feeling of like, it's not safe, it's messy, it's very risky, it's unnecessary type of thing. And after I did my hypnobirthing certification, and I learned a lot about the birthing process, and I learned about the anatomy, physiology, and really understanding each scenario and what occurs in each scenario, I was much more comfortable and much more excited about a home birth. And then Nick was not there yet. And with a lot of research, conversations, at 35 weeks, we came together and we have decided that we are transitioning to a home birth.
Woo! We're doing a home birth. But assuming everything goes, as smoothly as we'd like it to. I think what's really important to point out as we dive into this for the men, I believe it is our duty to be the protector of our partners as they go into this process. Mm-hmm. Or whoever is birthing the baby. The partner, it is your job to be the voice, to be the decision maker, to be the logical mind during a completely mammalian, emotional,
spiritual,
divine process called birth. Women go, the one thing I've heard from guys over and over is like, dude, you watch your woman, assuming she's unmedicated. If you watch a woman go through that process, she's in a portal. They call it the birth portal. And I haven't been there yet. We'll talk about it afterwards. But I have heard enough people say it where it's like, she's not going to be herself per se. She's going to be in another world. And almost, I almost think about this as like a medicine journey, like a plant medicine journey. Mm-hmm. It's important to have a solid practitioner with you, somebody who can guide you back to, reality. Because what you do in a plant medicine journey is you like fade off into the wherever you're going. You're on a trip is what they say. And to have somebody who's like grounding you through your process is really important, or you can get really lost. And that can turn into paranoia, nervousness, fear, all that stuff, because reality is gone as you know it. And that's a scary thing. And that's what I'm learning. Part of my job is to be the grounding space for Bia to like come back, let her go into this divine experience, but also be present with you while you're in that process. Now, in order to do that, there's a couple things that have to happen. There's so much to do. She keeps looking at her watch. It's so annoying. Stop looking at your watch. I got it. I'm looking.
Keep going.
It's to physically control the situation, make sure that I can be a protector, make sure that nothing's going to physically happen to her to the best of my ability. 2, if there is an emergency, how am I handling that and making sure that, whatever we need to do is taken care of and I can handle that. 3, she has done all her practices and she's been, hypnobirthing practices. Bia got certified in a practice called hypnobirthing. We will not go into that today. But I do really want people to research that, right? Yeah. It's super important.
Absolutely.
Hypnobirthing is what it's called. And it's essentially, you want to give like the 10-second version?
No, just research on it.
Research it. She's pissed. She wants to go. Hypnobirthing.
It's a big conversation. So no, just research it.
So research it. It's a process of like a way of using your breath during that. Now,
not only your breath, but your mind and changing your association to pain. And it's a lot of things, but
I guess we are talking about it.
Go ahead.
So she has a whole understanding of that. She's educated on it. But when she loses it, can I be there when she's like not present because she's too present in her experience? Can I help bring her back to that breathing process, bring her back to that mental process? Can I be the support system for that? So there's a lot that the guy does.
Yes, I think what you were trying to say, and just resuming here, it's like it's the partner role in the birth experience. It's extremely important. And it's important that you do your research before you get there, because when you get there, you also will be in a situation where you're going to not know what to do, and you will see your partner in a very vulnerable space. So it's important that not only the woman who is birthing is informed, but the partner is informed and know exactly what's going on and how to support the partner.
Yeah. So one of the things, as we started, I essentially, I think pretty quickly we were like, we prefer not to do it in a hospital. Why did we initially say that right off the bat?
I think we both already knew, like, we have been into this health journey where we understand that there is a lot of messed up things in the system and a lot of things that we don't agree with the health system. And when we think about the birthing of a baby, one of the first things I knew is that I didn't want interventions and a lot of like chances of being through at a C-section space, which is what happened most.
A chance of what? Thrown into it?
Into a C-section experience. Yeah. And it's what happens. If you look the rate of C-section between a home birth, a birthing center, and a hospital, it's absurd. Like I think it's like 60%.
Yeah. Let me read this because this is interesting real quick. Birth locations in the U.S. First of all, this sounds woo-woo, to me and probably to you listening. Oh my God, birthing at home. Oh my God, birthing at a birthing center. That's crazy. Why does that sound so woo-woo? Check out the numbers. This is just ChatGPT, by the way, but we do have the links to where ChatGPT got all this information. And most of them that I'm looking at are .orgs, which is a good sign. But I can't say that these numbers are perfectly correct, but it is ChatGPT. So hospital birth, 98.3% of all births in the US occur in hospitals.
Yeah.
So of course you're going to look like a crazy person to everybody because 98% of people have births in hospitals. Mm-hmm. Just because everybody's doing something doesn't mean it's the right thing or the best thing to do. Birth centers, 0.5% of births happen in freestanding birth centers, not attached to a hospital. So there's birth centers within hospitals, but like birthing centers separate, like we were at before this. And then home births, which are planned, like planned home births people choose, 1.1% of births are planned home births. Crazy. So that's a wild... what does it say? 1.4% of births are home births. Okay, so 1.1%. Those numbers are wild.
Yeah. So in a scenario where 98% of people are doing a hospital birth, it's considering like all of this that we are talking about crazy. Do a home birth, or it seems like so out of normal, and unfortunately is out of normal. But what we know to be true is that what happened in the hospital, and that's what we opt out of the hospital and we went to look for a birthing center, is that in a hospital, there are a lot of interventions, and they consider not being safe, that you start to increase the risk of a still baby, like a baby being born dead, after 40 weeks. But the risk is really, really low. I think it's 1 in 1,000. It's really, really low. And what we know to be true is that a due date, which is usually 40 weeks, which is the end of the 9 month, a due date is something that was created by a German doctor many years ago, and it was based on the assumption that every woman had a 28 days cycle, and on the 14 days she was ovulating. And we know nowadays that this is absolutely not true, and the woman has different length of cycles and different days of ovulation. So that was not a research base or a science evidence based information. It was just something that was created. And yes, sure. What we know is that there is kind of like a 38 to 42 weeks window where the baby is born, but only 5% really is born at 40 weeks. And most women, I think, I don't remember the data exactly, but I think it's 80% of first-time moms, they deliver after 40 weeks. So when that happens, what the doctors want to do is start trying induction. And there are women that also, like, I have lots of friends who went through this process before the 40 weeks.
Got induced before the 40 weeks.
And it's like the baby's not ready yet. The baby will give signs that it's ready. And that's my concern with the hospital, is because a lot of times the doctors want to induce because they say that increase the risk after 40 weeks for the baby to not like to be at stress, or like all the things that they say. I have heard so many things that the baby can be pooping inside, and then it's just so many things that I don't agree with. And that's the reason that we were like, you know what? I think the best shot for us to have a birth experience that we would like to have, a natural birth, and the most healthy and amazing experience that we can have, is out of the hospital.
So why people are going to notice that both of us get we're trying to not get that way and be neutral. Why do we get so heated about intervention that isn't necessary, medical intervention, and like women being told they should by their trusted provider, who we don't believe is out to attack anybody or hurt anybody, or if it's even the provider's fault per se. But when forced intervention comes in for a woman that could 100% healthy, and again, set the context. We're talking about like a normal, healthy woman. By normal, I mean, you don't have any crazy like if you have diabetes, that's something to think about. If you have, whatever, these are things that you need to consult a doctor, because it does change things. But for someone like you, who's generally healthy, has no outlying kind of crazy circumstances, why does it bother you so much? Because you clearly get pissed off when you talk about it.
Well, because the difference between a C-section baby and a vaginal birth baby, there are a few differences. First of all, it's a much healthier option for the baby and for the mom and for the recovery of the mom to birth vaginally, which, it might happen where I have to go through a C-section because something happened, but I'm lowering all the risks that I have to go through a C-section. And when you go to a hospital, my chances of having a C-section increase absurdly. So that's why I'm so passionate about it, and I'm so vocal about it, and I have lots of conversation. Most of my friends, they have at the hospital, and I respect that, and I think that each person makes your own choice. But for me and for what I desire for this baby, I think the best shot that I can give this baby and to myself is to not force myself into a C-section.
And let me explain why that's so important from my end. Because when we're looking at, it's like, well, why don't you just do it at the hospital? Tell them what you want, and then they will like leave you alone and let you do what you want. You'd think so. And that is what is supposed to happen. But because, do you have something to say?
No, it's like I can give a real life experience example.
Before we go into real life example, let me explain what I'm saying, because I know you want to go ahead, but this is important. There's an intention to let people have the birth they want. And you can write what's called a birth plan, which describes, we would prefer this, we like this. At the end of the day, a doctor is going to make a call based off of what they think is the best thing to do. They are trained to get things done efficiently, to get the baby out, to get the baby, rocking and rolling. It's not always fair to say, I think, that they are doing the most natural, healthy process for the child. They often have to make decisions because they're running a business, right? Hospitals are businesses. There's no argument about that. Hospitals are businesses. They're gazillion-dollar businesses. Businesses run way better, if you're an entrepreneur, you understand this, with structure, with routine, with timing, things operating at a certain pace. What's interesting about C-sections is that C-sections can be done on a schedule. Come in at 10 o'clock, you got your 10:30 C-section, you're out by 10:45, and the doctor can move to the 11 o'clock C-section. That's great because the doctor can go home and sleep and then come in and do 3 C-sections. C-sections are generally anywhere from 2 times to 3 times more expensive, so they can charge insurance 3 times more, 2 or 3 times more than they would for a natural birth because it's a surgery. So things like this, I'm not saying that doctors are out there sneaky trying to get you a C-section, but I don't want to be the guy who has to make a decision between more efficiency and more money, like my day going quicker, and being like, listen, it's no big deal. Like the parents are happy, everybody's happy. We just do the C-section, bing, bang, boom, baby's out. You get more, you have to, I think, I'm not sure about this, but I'm pretty sure doctors, like there's a certain amount of C-sections that like it gets recorded if a doctor does a C-section or not. I don't even want to say this part because I don't know if it's true. So I'm not even going to put it out there. Point being, it's a bit of a conflict of interest. Like I want natural, but everything works better for the hospital when it's not natural. So they can have a billion things to say, and they're actually probably trained to look for reasons to have a C-section.
Yeah, and that's the real life example I want to give. Like I have a friend who the doctor was saying that her baby was really big. She was at 39 weeks. She was not even on her due date yet. And the doctor was saying it was watching her if she was dilated or not, like what was her body reactions. And it was saying that the baby was getting too big for her to birth naturally. So she decided to suggest a C-section because she said that the baby was heavy and I think was like close to 9 pounds or something. And the head of the baby was too big. And
this is what the doctor said to your friend.
Yes.
Okay.
So imagine you being a woman who has a baby and your doctor, your provider, your health provider is giving you information that it's getting to risk for you to have a vaginal birth because your baby is too big and the head is too big. This information is an estimated information. The doctor has no way to know exactly what is the weight and what exactly is the measurement of the baby because the baby is literally inside of your uterus. This is like an estimated thing. And based on this estimation, the doctor has to suggest you to have a C-section because it can, the head can be stuck there or the shoulder or whatever, all the risks that the doctor needs to consider. And the doctor is just doing its job. It's not trying to push you in a C-section. It's really seeing that there is a risk there. But this is an estimated thing. So my friend went there at 39 weeks and went to C-section. She didn't even get into labor. She had her baby. Her baby was 7.5 pounds, and the head was not that big and was a very normal baby. So all of that to say that my friend she had to do a C-section. Because, of course, I would do the same probably in her position. I wouldn't do because I'm informed enough to know that if I had a doctor saying that to me, I would stand up for myself and not do that. But in her case, with the information that she had, I would do the same thing. Because I don't want to risk my baby's life. I prefer to go through a surgery and navigate it a harder postpartum and recovery so my baby is healthy. So that's what happens to a lot of women and a lot of cases. And this is not even considering the case of induction. Like she didn't get inducted. She went direct to C-section. And what happened to a lot of women is like you're getting close to your due date. So they decided to induce you. And induce you can be Pitocin, can be different types of inductions, not naturally, but like that the doctor will give you. And what I mean by not natural is like eat more dates, drink this tea, use this essential oil type of thing. So you get a shot of oxytocin, or you have Pitocin, or you have all these other interventions, medical interventions to help your body to push you into labor. But what happened is at 40 weeks, your baby might not be ready. A lot of women birth at 41 weeks or close to 42 weeks because it depends on your cycle, depends on so many things. And And what happens is when you get into intervention, so you are forcing your body to be in labor and your body's not ready yet. So then you are putting your baby into stress, and then you have to rush into a C-section because your body was not ready to birth. So in this case, a lot of women, and that's what happened in a lot of hospitals, is the doctors say, you know what, I think it's important for us to start induction because you are at 40 weeks. So the risk of the baby is increasing type of thing. And then you were putting into...
The risk of what?
The risk of a stillbirth, for example, like after 40 weeks. But it's like a very small risk, and it's like you don't know exactly.
But that's why we keep saying do the research, not do what we're doing. Just the more that Bia started educating herself, and then I started getting educated on it, the more I started being like, wait, why go to the hospital? The chances of something horrible happening are very, 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 very low if the mother is relaxed, calm, in a peaceful state. So then the question became, okay, if my wife is generally healthy, she's got no outlying circumstances, and what allows her to feel like truly give her the best chance of birth is feeling peaceful and safe and comfortable, then the question is, does a hospital make her feel that way? And clearly... I think just to add, why is it important for you to feel that? It's because one of the most important things on a natural birth is producing oxytocin. So when your body produces oxytocin, which is a hormone that you get naturally, you help the process of like literally birthing the baby and contractions in your uterus. And then you start the process of like preparing your uterus, and the baby will get out of the vaginal canal. So that's why feeling safe, feeling comfortable, being in a place with like low lights and the position that you are, like all of this impact your ability to produce oxytocin. And when you are in a place where you don't feel safe, when you're like, there's a lot of white light and there are a lot of people coming in and out, and you're like playing in your logical mind and playing all the scenarios and all the things, and you're receiving information, your body is not able to relax, feel safe, and produce more oxytocin. Even just naturally, when you go into a hospital, they've got you, unless you ask for it to not be, you're plugged in, like IVs and all this shit, and it's beep, beep, and then every 5 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes, we think this is great, right? That like a nurse is coming to check in every 15 minutes, but it's also like, I just want to be in my body. I just want to connect with like, this is the most personal, beautiful, divine experience ever. And I'm like white light, and the doctor's like, how are we feeling? Blah, blah, blah. And like kind of a new nurse, new person coming in. You're literally, imagine having birth at work. Like it's people's workplace. It's bing, 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 beep, 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 ring, ring, ring. It's not peaceful. So again, ask the question, if I do want to have a natural birth, am I feeling safe doing it here? Do I feel comfortable doing it here? That's really important. And as we did more research and understood that those risks that the doctor was claiming, like, oh, the baby's going to be too big and it's 7.5 pounds, like that is not too big of a baby. That's a very normal size, if not kind of technically small baby. It's like average size baby.
Not in Brazil, but yeah.
And like we just eat different here, I think. And
yeah,
it's an average size baby. There was no danger there.
Americans are bigger.
There was no danger for vaginally birthing at that point. And again, they're not doing it to try and trick you. They're saying these are risks you have to consider. But it's unfair for a young woman to sit there and like consider her life and be like, oh my God, maybe it's just easier and safer to do the C-section. To be quite honest, a year ago, if Bia was in that situation, I would look the doctor in the eye and say, don't listen to her. Let's do the C-section. Like that's my best friend. I want to keep her safe. If you know that this is just going to be easiest. But I also didn't understand the difference of what happens to a baby in a C-section versus a vaginal birth.
Yeah.
Because we're short on time, maybe here's my encouragement to you. Go and research what the difference is for a baby when they are birthed naturally.
We can also do a part 2 of this podcast.
Yeah, we could do a part 2. Like a vaginal birth of a baby and what happens to the baby and the things they get versus when there's a C-section. A very different experience. I meant to read some of these numbers. Interventions, just so you understand, if you do your research and you look at the importance of having a natural birth, if you can, of course, some women are not able to, and there's no shame in that, by the way. Like, you shouldn't feel bad. We're not trying to make anybody feel bad. It's not wrong to have a C-section. Some women, that is the best course of action. For those who just do it because it's quicker and easier and whatever, you have to consider what you're doing or what you're taking from your child. Research the difference between having a C-section and a birth for you and for the baby. For the mother, it's like you miss out on the insane oxytocin levels that surge through your body. Like, it's the best feeling in the world to birth that baby, hold that baby on your chest and have that experience. You're missing out on that. You still get to have your baby, but what happens in the body chemically is different when you have a C-section, because you're not feeling, and when you have an epidural. Like, it makes a difference. Not, again, no shaming, but it makes a difference on what happens in the body. The birth centers, because we got clear that we wanted to do this naturally if we can and if God allows. Birth centers, C-section rates, cesarean section rates, okay? Very low, around 6 to 12% of people, okay?
Which means that they were at the birthing center and they
got transferred out to go do a C-section.
Yes.
Okay.
Either because they wanted a epidural because they are in a lot of pain, or because they had a complication.
So there's a high 80 to 90% are vaginal births that's with low use of epidurals. Induction is what this says. Low use in birthing centers. If we look at home births, these are planned home births attended by certified midwives. Low medical intervention rates. Okay. They don't have a percentage on here, but some studies show no increase in prenatal mortality in well-integrated systems. But U.S. meta-analysis show increased neonatal risk. Okay. 0.6% is what I'm hearing. Increased by 0.6%. That seems like not an increase, but okay. Okay, and then in hospital births, C-section rate, ready for this one? About 32% nationwide in the U.S. In Brazil, it's way higher.
Yeah,
that's my understanding. Yeah. High use of interventions, including epidurals. 50 to 80% of women use epidurals, inductions,
episiotomy.
I don't know what that is.
It's when they have to cut.
So, point being, your chances of getting a C-section at a hospital are significantly greater, like significantly. And having intervention is 50 to 80% greater. That is a huge difference. And if I want to give her the best chance of having a peaceful home birth or a peaceful natural birth, it doesn't sound like navigating arguments with a doctor or trying to convince a doctor of what we want. And a doctor, like, it's already hard enough. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's already scary enough. I am slightly terrified, but also really confident. I am nervous because I can't do anything. This is for her to do. It's going to take so much faith, so much trust, so much grounding just to be there and stand by her and be like, you got this, and give her what she needs. That is 1/1,000,000th of the trust and faith she needs. Now imagine you're going through just think of forget birth for a second. Think of the darkest, most challenging time of your life. And what it needs in that moment is faith. Think of the hardest task you've ever taken on. What you need in that moment is trust in yourself and faith. If you had somebody whispering in your ear going, what you're doing is wrong. You shouldn't do it that way. It's not safe. It's bad. Then you are likely going to start to second guess yourself if that person is a trusted person. Now, if it's just some idiot on the side of the road saying you're not good enough, you're not going to listen to him. But this is our doctor. This is the person we are told to trust and that we pay lots of money to trust. And they're the one whispering, it's probably not safe. You probably shouldn't do that. In their own way, right? It's safer. You should consider the risks, and you should consider the risks, but consider the risks beforehand. Here, when the baby's in the belly, everybody's chill. Now we do our research. We have considered the risks already. We have done it. So now we're making our decision.
Which I think we should bring in a part 2 because there's so much more to talk about.
She wants to go to the gym.
No, it's just too long of a podcast.
Just listen. When you ask about the podcast, it will always be me telling you, I've tried, guys. but my wife wants to end it because of the light and because
I think this is a part 2 because there's so much more to talk about our decision and why is it important that we made this decision and the length of when we decided to do that and how we are preparing for that. So I want to share this information because I think it's super important. Maybe a lot of people go through the situation and they are considering, like they're still thinking about home birth, birth center, and hospital, and we are now preparing ourselves for a home birth. And I would love to share like how we are preparing, like what are we doing, what do you need, and type of thing.
Yeah, and there's just like, as I'm looking at this, we prepared this whole document. You know, we took hours of typing into ChatGPT for 2 minutes. Just kidding. ChatGPT did all our research for us on this one. But these are numbers that we have researched and done our own research over the last 9 months. And we wanted to bring all this stuff and put it out there. So she's probably right. We should do a full walk down of all this because there's so much here that
always right.
She is always right. In her world. And this information allows us all to make more educated decisions. It's not as simple as, should I do the hospital? Should I do home? Should I do birthing center? It's okay, based off of all this information and how it relates to you. Maybe you have had traumatic experiences where like, you know, a hospital has been your saving grace and it makes you feel really safe to be there. And that's an amazing place to go then.
And there's obviously a beautiful way to make a hospital safe.
100%.
If that's the road you decide to choose.
100%. And it can be a lot harder to make a hospital a safe, beautiful, loving birth than doing it at home or doing it at a birthing center. Mm-hmm. But there's also that risk of like, if something happens, you know, that's a whole nother, that's what happens in the second, you know, podcast here is part 2. Where is the hospital? You know, if you live 2 hours from a hospital, this is probably not the best play for you, potentially, right? So all that to say, there's so much that goes into this. Do your own research, talk to people, get to know what people's experiences were, talk to people who are trusted professionals, talk to people who aren't trusted professionals. Mm-hmm. That's great too.
Yeah.
Talk to people who are, you know, we have talked to midwives who are not in the system. We've talked to midwives who are in the system, traditionally trained, more current training. Getting a variety of perspectives will help you understand what best aligns with you. So it's one of the things in life I'm learning that we just kind of hand over. We do this with our health. It's why we have a health epidemic in the US, at least. People don't want to exercise. They want their trainer to take care of things, right? They want their whatever, their doctor to like fix things. The Ozempic thing, you know, it's hard to watch because I think it's amazing how it's helping people change their lives. And it's like people just want an out. They want an out. They don't want to do the work. They don't want their research. Of course, I'm not talking about everybody, but there's a lot of people who just want an out. And ultimately, it's our job to do the research, to do our work, to make the best choices for us in life. And you will be very happy you did. You'll be very happy you did. And I'm not just talking about birth. I'm talking about life. So we've got a whole part 2 to do on this,
yes.
It seems.
On next part, we will chat a little bit more about the home birth, birthing center, why we decided to shift from birthing center to home birth, how we're preparing for that, and about the team that we have involved on that.
Yeah, and some of the numbers too, like so that you guys can better understand where we're coming from, and that this is not just like a woo, we just trust the universe. Although it does play a role, but this is a really educated decision and an important one. So we want you to feel educated, and like maybe the most important decision you make in your life, definitely the most important decision you make for your kids, are one that you're really proud of and that you can stand by. We should talk about that too. You know, that whatever, what you can stand by when you decide to do that. Thank you guys so much for being open. We hope that you stayed open. If you didn't stay open, listen back with an open heart and open mind. You'll be surprised at what comes up for you. We love you guys. We appreciate your attention and your focus. And we look forward to the next episode of That Easy.
Yeah, part 2. Let's go.
We'll see you guys then.